Welcome back, everybody, to the Birdies and Bourbon Show. Here we are again with the one and only Matt Hranek, author and founder. Hold on, author of A Man and His Watch and A Man in His Car. I hope we get into what's coming up next. And founder of the W.M. Brown Project. So I hope we get to spend a little time talking about that. I know, Matt, the last time we were on, we really dug into A Man in His Car. It was awesome. Hey, by the way, this is my advertisement for you. So for folks that may be listening, guys or ladies, if Valentine's Day is coming up, and don't be afraid to suggest, hey, this would be a great addition to the bar or the coffee table. So that was my commercial for the show. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, you got it, man. So we're going to do something cool with Matt tonight. We've got you'll see if you're just listening and not watching. I've got 3 bottles in front of me. So we're going to do a blind tasting. It's not a double blind. We're going to know what we're drinking. Actually, Matt doesn't know what we're drinking yet. I don't know if Dan does either. But I'm going to tell you. So you're going to have an idea of what we're getting ready to go through, but they don't know what's in the bottles. And we've got the bottles labeled ABC. So we're going to do some tasting as we're kind of chit-chatting. And then at the end, we're going to talk about what we liked, what we didn't like about them. And I didn't send anything bad. The one thing I did send over is I sent all craft distilleries that have been on the show. So I sent over in no particular order. I sent over a local. And Matt, I don't know if you had a chance to get there while you were in Atlanta visiting with Sid Mashburn, but I sent ASW. It's Resurgens Rye, but it's a single barrel pick at cask strength. And that's this one, just so you know. And that's from the liquor store across the street, My Friend's Bottle Shop. That's their single barrel pick. And our friends over at Penelope Bourbon, we're going to be, one of the bottles has their 4-grain, kind of their flagship 4-grain whiskey. And then we're going to head to Maryland. And we're going to, one of the labels has Sagamore Spirit Rye, and that's the 83 proof. So we've kind of got we don't, you may notice we don't have any bourbons in this mix. We've got all whiskeys, and we've got some kind of rye variation. I think the only thing that has corn in it is going to be the 4-grain Penelope, but it's going to give us a real different play on kind of, what do you like? Do you like malted rye? Do you like straight rye? Do you like a 4-grain? And each are going to be kind of, everything's going to be different. So it's not necessarily what's best, or which one it's which one do you like better and which one hits your profile. And by the way, Matt, did you paint that window just for us? That nice snowy scene outside, or is that photoshopped, or what is that?
Well, this is courtesy of Mother Nature. This new painted window frame is courtesy of me because I got sick of looking at that janky chipped off paint. They just made it look like I was living in like a crack house or something. So no offense to crack users out there. But
none taken.
But I figured, we should at least, if we're not going to paint the whole office, we should at least paint that window.
Yeah, awesome.
And I reframed the Hemingway print.
Nice.
So that looks a lot better. So anyway, it's a slow process.
But before we get into this, and I'm going to let you, we can start ABC or we can go BCA. It doesn't matter. You're going to tell us how we're going to do this, but we're going to taste them all. But I want you to show off that microphone you got, because typically we don't let guests wear earphones and use microphones on the show. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's real nice.
We don't hear people like clinking dishes in the house, or my daughter on some video game, or the dog yipping to get out. Like, this is, and no one gets to hear you now, which is even, it's only good for me. So
I don't know how you say that no one gets to hear me and that's better. I mean, the purpose of the show is so people hear us. I'm just saying. All right. So are we going to start with let's just get our palates warmed up. I don't know if you've had anything to kind of get going yet or not, but we got to have a little taste of something just to kind of get us going. So if you want to smell, I don't know if you have something besides what you poured, but just have a smell starting off hot here.
Well, the good thing was I realized today, in the haste of my day, I didn't brush my teeth this morning.
Oh, perfect.
Which is pretty rank. But I got home about an hour ago, and I brushed my teeth. So I have kind of a clean, unadulterated palate right now.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So,
wait, are you starting with A, or which one are you starting with?
I started with A.
Okay. All right.
Should I taste them all, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, we'll get there in a minute. I want to know what you've been doing, man. I've been following you on Instagram. I've been saying, boy, that is like, we didn't even talk about what that smelled like. That's like a chocolate bomb, man. That's like,
yeah, you're right.
That's like like the Girl Scout, like if there was a graham cracker, there is a graham cracker in that Thin Mint. Yeah, we'll get back into that. But hold on. So what's Matt Hranek been up to?
Well, I'm working on issue 7 of William Brown Magazine, and which is essentially the spring issue. And I was just down doing a story down in Thomasville. I've been in the South this pandemic season more than I ever have been down the South. I mean, kind of exploring Americana because we can, and been working down there, visiting Sid, did a book event there, and then I was just down in Georgia again in Thomasville working on a story. And I have to say, I'm absolutely in love with that part of the world. I think it's so great. And it was so nice to kind of concentrate on Americana a little bit during this period, rather than always being forward facing to Europe. The green grass is always greener is not necessarily true. And it's been great exploring essentially my backyard, and to be in the South has been terrific. I've really, really enjoyed myself there. And I had a hard time coming back on this one.
Nice.
Well, I saw your most recent post, and you got your knee boots on, and
right.
you went on a pig hunt, did you?
I went on a rather unsuccessful pig hunt because I realized we realized that when we were walking out where the feeders were and where all these big, rather territorial, destructive hogs were on this friend of mine's plantation, somebody must have cracked like an AR-15, and there were just like hundreds of rounds on the ground that we didn't realize until we walked out, and we were like, maybe that's why we didn't see any pigs.
They already killed them all.
They probably already killed them all. No, but part of the joy of doing all that stuff is, okay, it's still a hunt if you don't kill anything. Like, part of it is, the enjoyment for me is being out there kind of BSing and chit-chatting and gearing up, and we saw lots of deer, and we the squirrels are going mad. I mean, it was like you're immersed in the experience of nature and all that stuff, but we did not see any pigs, but we did hunt and shoot a lot of quail, which was pretty spectacular.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, typically I guess in modern time, the AR-15 is the gun of choice in both hog hunting and coyote hunting.
That's right.
That's we deal with the modern day folks. So,
and some people have used the AR-15 in very incorrect ways, and it's got a bad rep. We were using still 223s, but a bolt action rifle was a slightly calmer thing. And I guess, we can reserve, we can put a whole show based around those philosophical differences.
That's for the next show.
Next show. But no, I mean, we had what I like about that part of the world is that there is a kind of sophisticated edge tempered by, it's the ultimate high-low, right?
Sure.
And that's what I love. There's this sophisticated kind of aristocratic sensibility of that part of the South, which probably comes back to its colonial days with the British sensibility. Like, everyone's like super polite and formal, but it's still like pimento cheese and canned beer, and I'm all for that.
Nice. Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. So you were quail hunting. We'll move past the hunting thing, but I tell you, the thing I was most excited about, it looked like you had a little Boykin Spaniel as one of your bird dogs.
Well, this was actually a mix. It's a Spaniel Brittany mix. It's owned by a friend of mine, and it is very Spaniel forward. And but it's Cocker Brittany mix. But it just was a great dog with big personality. And I just love bird dogs. I just think they're a bit crazy, and that's the good thing about them. Like, I just don't want one in Brooklyn, but I like having one around me. It's sort of like people with boats. Like, I don't want to own a boat, but it's nice to be on the boat. Like, I feel that way about bird dogs.
Yeah.
But we just had an absolute blast. Just kind of being around, we were on horses for 2.5 days straight, and I haven't been on a horse in 2 years, and my butt cheeks are feeling it.
It feels like you did 1,000 squats.
Oh my God. I said to my wife, riding, and I had a really tall horse, and I'm 5'9". This was a really tall horse. Like, I had to pick up my leg to get it in the stirrup. Yeah. And I said, it was like doing a burpee, a squat thrust, and a push-up every single time I had to get up down on that horse.
Sure.
But I don't know. I like the horse. Its name was Nickel. Thank God they didn't give me like Diablo or or Daisy. But I do enjoy that. I don't get to do that enough. So that was a real pleasure for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And the reason I asked, hey, taste through those, by the way, just give them a smell and a taste, and then we'll go back through and then we'll talk about them in a minute. The reason I mentioned the bird dog is, I had a Boykin Spaniel for maybe 18 years or so. He lived a really long time, and he was a bird dog. And we recently got another one, and she's, I think 8 months old now. So she knows kind of basics, sit, stay, come. She'll heel a little bit. She's still a Spaniel, so still a little squirrely, as most are.
Yeah.
But so I'm looking, if you got a guy down there and you know somebody really well, I'm looking for a trainer. So maybe after the show, we may want to connect.
Actually, I could probably do a good job hooking you up with this. And there's also, I know, a great one up here on Long Island. I don't know if that helps you being down there, but I'm surely connected in that scene now. So we could talk about that offline if you want.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, for sure. So did you kind of taste through those? And
I did.
You got a little feel. So you see, when I say we're tasting like very different things, right, to kind of get a feel for the palate, and you can probably kind of see, okay, what do you like and what do you don't like? I like them all. I think there's something to be said for maybe something different at a different time. But let's start back through C, and let's kind of nose this thing and see what we're getting out of it, and see. I think we'll be able to nail them down pretty quick. But and it's not figuring out which one it is. It's just you got a lot of caramel in this one.
Yeah, where that first one, the A is so chocolatey and deep, and
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So just and I'm in no particular order. Again, I'll start with just how I have them lined up. But the ASW is a 100% malted rye. It is cast strength, as it's a single barrel pick, and it's 100% malted rye. I just said it was 100% malted rye. The Sagamore is 83 proof. And there, by the way, there's no age statement that I found on the ASW. The Sagamore is 83 proof. It's 95 rye, 5%, some kind of corn and grain, mix, and it's give or take 4+ years. And then the Penelope is 80 proof, and it's a minimum. They don't give an age statement. They just say it's a minimum of 24 months. But yeah, coming in at 80 proof. And then, so the Sagamore and Penelope are both MGP sourced, and the ASW is that's all local Atlanta stuff. So
can you explain what'd you say?
MGP? Yeah, MGP. So it's oddly enough, they just merged with Luxco out of Kentucky. So MGP primarily is a sourcer of whiskey. So I don't know, have you heard about the Smoke Wagon craze yet? Smoke Wagon bourbon?
No.
Okay, I got to send you some of that then. So MGP is generally speaking, what they do is they make whiskey, and then they make it, they age it, and then they sell it to other folks like Sagamore. Even though Sagamore has new stuff coming, it's just new brands. So as new whiskey lines or new craft distilleries are starting out, I've got a label. I know what my profile, I know what I want my profile to be. They would go to MGP as call them a wholesaler of spirits that doesn't have a label, and they're going to pick out barrels, and they're going to, okay, here's the flavor profile I'm looking for. This is the age statement. This is the mash bill mix that I'm looking for. And MGP has got, I don't have it in front of me, but they're running out of room to put barrels of whiskey because people come and buy whiskey from them. So when you want to do a
kind of white label.
Yeah, when you want to do a WM Brown Project whiskey or bourbon, you would go to MGP and you would source from them. They'll sell it to you. Now you're going to have to go to somebody. So like Penelope, they're bottled out of Castle and Key in Kentucky.
Oh, I know those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're in New Jersey or Long Island, Northeast. Nevertheless,
they're in the Northeast.
Yeah. But nevertheless, so they're pulling stuff down to, a distillery and they're storing and then bottling and then shipping from there. Where Sagamore, they've got their own distillery now producing their own spirits. And, so they've still got their stuff from MGP, but, soon to be, they're going to grow into, we won't necessarily need MGP anymore. We've got, we've had enough time to put a 4+ year age statement, or maybe 2 year. It's a rye, so or a Maryland rye, so you don't have to get to 4, but they're going to have their own juice that they're going to be able to produce and bottle themselves. So
cool.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, MGP is if you're opening up if you're starting a new line, a new brand, MGP is kind of the go-to, and they're making some of the even labels that are distilling and bottling their own stuff, making some really good stuff there. So
great.
And you take it, and then you're going to blend it to whatever you want it to be, right? So
right,
a lot of variation in terms of what the end product is, but they're doing the actual distilling part of it.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm kind of getting some spice on it. Definitely a lot of caramel on the back end of that. That's it's easy. I like that. Not a lot of burn on the finish is a little light for me.
On C, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not a bad thing, but I mean that's a day boat sipper all day long for sure.
Well, B also is not as hot, I think, and there's a little bit more apricot and it's kind of almost citrus in there for me, anyway.
Oh, Cal, did you hear that? He said apricot. That's one flavor Cal said he never can get. He can never nail that flavor.
I think you're.
No. I think you're right, Matt. I think you're right.
No. Now that you say it, I can get it. I guess I don't eat enough apricots to really get in there.
Well, I guess you don't fly Delta enough because the new vegan box has got apricots in it.
Well, number 2, I would never get the vegan box. So.
It's got the most food.
Oh, it's got the most food. Okay, so the biggest bang for your buck. So hold on. So as we're talking about apricots, I guess I should have said apricot, being that I'm from the South and you just left South Georgia. There are no apricots in the South.
And I'm sorry, there's also no pecans.
No, they're pecans.
They're pecans.
Yeah, right. Understood. So what about, I think the last time we spoke, you said you might be working on a cookbook.
I am. I have it right to my left, the analog version of that thing. My publisher who did both of the books, Manners Watch, Manners Car, the publisher that's putting out the Negroni Martini book that we kind of did a kind of quick fire publishing attempt on. We wanted to get these books out in a small format to kind of quickly complement what other things I've been doing. And, I had never kept a journal before in my life. And when we went up to the house during what we all seem to be calling the crisis, or I like to call the situation, I started keeping a food journal, and I just thought it would be fun. It would be something I'd wake up in the morning and, write what we had for dinner the night before, what we drank, everything. And before you know it, I had, and I was also always thinking about, like, all my mom and my mother's family is Italian. No one ever wrote anything down. It was all this kind of oral tradition, So as I was kind of comforting everyone, including myself, with a lot of that food that I remember as a kid, and I'm reasonably handy in the kitchen, so I started writing all the recipes down. And then we started writing down everything we did from my daughter was craving fast food, and she was like, "Dad, we got to make Crunchwrap Supremes." The Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme. And I was like, okay, right. I love the idea of that. Of course, we own a deep fryer. And I was like, but let's kind of make the most elevated version of that. And we kind of did that, and I was writing all that stuff down. And before you know, I had a volume of recipes and food thoughts like this big. And I was talking to my publisher via Zoom call, and they said, "Oh, like what's next?" And I said, "Listen, I'm going to throw this out there because these guys, the concentration of their publishing is cookbooks. Like they have everyone from Sean Brock to Thomas Keller and sort of everything in between. And I was collecting their cookbooks before I ever met them as a publisher for Do the Watch and Car Book.
Yep.
And I said, I have this volume of recipes, and I started reading through it and showing them. And they were like, that's a cookbook. Do you want to publish that with us as a cookbook? And I said, yeah, I would love to do that. Like, so that is in development right now. And I'm really, I mean, I have to say, I'm incredibly excited about it because it's so deeply personal and it's so deeply connected to my history, my family now, friends that, that I've, for me, the meal together is the most celebratory, intimate act that you could have
Sure.
with a, non-engaged partner,
Yep.
And I think, that dialogue really means a lot to me. So to have an opportunity to share that on a larger scale, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And are there any, so in your career, right? I mean, through Condé Nast and photography, et cetera, were there any inspirations that you had from a cook stamp? I'm sure there are many. Are there any that you could kind of single out that you're like, hey, I want to model my cookbook after this, or I'm taking kind of a lead on that, or did you shoot from the hip?
The only television I watched as a kid besides like Hanna-Barbera and Bugs Bunny is like I watched cooking shows. Like I was just crazy for cooking shows, and like from the Galloping Gourmet but really it was like Jacques Pepin that really inspired me. I just thought he was cool because he was French, had a funny little accent, and he was, taking really kind of provincial style cuisine and just presenting it in such a thoughtful way, in a not dumbed down way, but also an accessible way, which was like, we can still make great food with a can of tuna and a can of cream of mushroom soup. Like,
sure.
Let's not overthink this. Let's elevate the food that you have around you. And that I thought was sort of great. And, then you had people like, Julia Childs in the Galloping Gourmet, which I just love. I love the Galloping Gourmet because, he'd run into the studio with a glass of Chardonnay, leap over an ottoman, and invite the cutest woman in the audience to have the meal with him at the end of the show. Like, it was just like so cool. So, and I grew up in a real food-centric family. I had an aunt that had a diner, and uncle that had bars and restaurants, and I was constantly around that, and that was constantly the food dialogue. And you were shown love with food, you were shown favoritism with food, like you were rewarded with food. It just was like embedded in who I was as a kid and how I navigated my family and all that stuff. So it was a natural progression to have it be important to me. And as I got older, particularly in this situation, having a daughter and Yolanda, my wife, to take the helm of that and share those experiences with them was just a kind of natural progression of what I was as a kid, really.
Yeah, sure. What was what's the Cajun cook's name that did
Paul Perdone, the big fat guy?
Yeah. Paul Perdone,
who almost eliminated the population of redfish in the South with his black and redfish.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Paul Perdone.
Yes. And I'm sorry. I used to love that guy.
So did I. And so did everyone else. That's why, the black and redfish, almost decimated an entire species. But yeah. And then there was Emerald, and how like the food, how the Food Network in the early days, when it wasn't just like food contests, was really teaching people how to cook and eat and understand regional food and all that other stuff. And that to me, like as an adult, I still gravitated. I watched fishing shows and cooking shows. That was all I really cared about, and I couldn't find any hunting shows because Time Warner wouldn't put any of that on. But like that gave me the sense of travel just being in my living room with that. And even when I was, working on that little show with Esquire, like I was constantly in the wake of Guy Fieri, diamonds driving the diamond. Welcome to Flavor Town, and as corny as I thought he was, I think his content was genius and gave you the short list on all these amazing mom and pop and interesting food sources all around the country. And I just love that. And when Yolanda and I drove from New York to Florida, I said, this is going to be the barbecue tour. Like, I'm not going to waste my time with anything else but eating fried chicken and barbecue.
Oh, nice.
And let's just say that 12 pounds, I earned it.
It's still hanging around, eh?
It's still hanging. It's getting a lot tougher.
Hey, the camera didn't add anything. It was the fried chicken and barbecue.
Like, this face up.
He does have a tan, though.
But anyway, it's food and drink is a great, I don't know, it's a great unifier. It's a great socialization tool. It's a great way to everybody, regardless of how busy we are. Like I always tell everybody, like, Clara, you're not bringing the food up. I don't care how much how much homework you have. You're not bringing your food up to your room. And Yolanda, we clear off all this work stuff and we have proper dinner. Like it's just really important to me. I don't care about breakfast on the fly or lunch or not eating lunch, but like that dinner, that ritual is important to me. And I put a lot of weight on it emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into A if you haven't been back into it yet.
I like the nose on A the most.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you were talking about being in the South and being in, being on the farm and that, I mean, this is like fresh cut hay, just so heavy. I mean, I'm getting some chocolate and such out of there too, but I mean, the biggest punch that I'm getting, I mean, this is like I'm getting kind of like you've been to a distillery, right? And you're standing over the fermentation tank and you're kind of getting that waft of, like you're getting the real deal on this one. So yeah, it's a telltale to what we're getting.
I mean, you do smell that kind of toasted grain on A.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think I'd make my Manhattan with this one.
Oh.
Yeah, that's I would probably, I think it would. I think this to me makes a better. Oh no, you said Manhattan, right?
Manhattan, yeah.
Yeah. See, I think this leads.
Go ahead.
I think this leads more, and probably where you were just going, I think this leads more into an old fashioned, but I think you could, I think if you added something to the simple syrup, I don't know what you add yet.
Well, but I think I'm going to follow your instincts. And the reason why I think this needs some sweet. So that either comes from the sugar of the old fashioned or the vermouth that's coming from a Manhattan. Yeah. But I like the richness, the chocolatey kind of grainy aspect of it. But I think and I'm not a huge sweet fan, but I do like it when the sweetness tempers the power of the spirit. And I think what you want is it not to get clobbered by the vermouth.
Well, but now that you're talking about that, I mean, this would, a traditional chocolate.
Cal, real quick, why don't you say which one it is, since we're talking so in detail about it, the listeners can know which one we're talking about.
Can we call it out now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I already know. I know what it is just based on the taste. But hey, but hold on, we're doing this official.
Yeah, there you go.
The envelope, please.
We're doing it. A is Resurgens.
A is Resurgens. So, wow. Okay.
Yeah, A is Resurgens. So I tasted it and smelled it. Like, I mean, that is like that 100% malted rye whiskey. That's just, I mean, it's like chocolate. So where I was going is like, this thing turns into a fabulous chocolate Manhattan.
How do you make that?
I don't know what vermouth. So you're probably better at vermouth than I am, even though I like vermouth. I'm not as up to snuff on my vermouth, other than I know what I like. Carpo Antico. I mean, who could go wrong with that? But what do you think vermouth is going to pair well with this? So instead of doing a gin, or I'm not even going to say the word vodka, but instead of doing like this is like chocolate martini all day. What are you going to hit this with? It's got to be a Blanco or a white vermouth to hit it with.
For me, I think there's, like Koki makes a really nice red sweet vermouth that has it's lighter in texture and in color, and it has a slightly more vanilla forward taste profile.
Yeah,
which I think would be terrific in this for me. Yeah,
couldn't you see this as a chocolate Manhattan?
You're gonna call it that?
No, I'm not going to call it that. I'm just saying I mean, dude, you're the writer. You're the author. You're the creative one.
Damn Manhattan made with Resurgens.
Oh, damn Manhattan made with
And he's going to shake it.
Don't be hating on my shake now. Okay, because I'm going to tell you something.
Shake it.
I grew up with, my mother's one of 11, so there was a lot of Italian uncles. And we lived in upstate New York, so most of the brown spirits that they were drinking when I was that I remember specifically as a kid was Seagram's, and that was Canadian
whiskey,
Canadian rye, right?
Yep.
Or Crown Royale.
Yep.
Crown Royale was fancy, okay. Mm-hmm. And you got the velvet bag that you would every kid would fight for the bag to keep their matchbox, right. So I think it's really interesting because they were not a culture of stirring. Like, these were not a bunch of guys who were into the ritual of the thing. It was like, how do we get this thing beat up cold enough and into a glass immediately
so we can drink it now?
So we could drink it. And they weren't drinking stuff on the rocks, Mm-hmm. The only thing they drink on the rocks was Doers and soda. Like, I remember every Italian wedding, there's Doers and soda, and we thought that was the coolest drink because we could like have it with Sprite or something and like hide it, whatever. And I think, and Seagram's and 7 was another very, very popular drink. And it's actually the first thing I ever got like shit faced with in high school, was because I thought it was so cool. I was like, yeah, give me a pint of Seagram's and a 6-pack of 7-Up kind of thing, right? But so that ritual of shaking, I learned 2 things. It expedited how cold it got. Sure, it was a little cloudy, but I don't know. It just emotionally reminded me of that period. So, every curmudgeon kind of troll who was like, you don't shake your Manhattan. It's like, okay, I'm not saying everybody needs to shake their Manhattan, but I shake it because it reminds me of the people I learned how to drink Manhattans from, full stop, And I think with everything like these cocktail books I'm doing and then the cookbook is, I'm sure there's a million different ways to do all this stuff, but like, I just want to, this is the way I do it. And I give everyone the permission to riff on anything in any way they want, except you do not substitute vodka in a Negroni
ever.
I don't even think it works. It's not even it's not even a Negroni.
I will hunt you down.
It's a cardinal rule.
Stanley Tucci, I will hunt you down. But I just think that like all this stuff, it's so specific to everyone's taste and flavor profiles and skill set and stuff like that, and what your like food memory is and flavor memories are, and I think that you can't judge. You can't judge on most of these things.
Well, there's no wrong way to take it, unless it's vodka in a Negroni, which it's not. Isn't that called a cosmopolitan?
I was talking to my friend Morgan Weber, who has Cultivari and 8 Row Flint in Houston. He's sort of my drink consigliere, and we were talking about the cosmopolitan the other day because I was kind of taking a deep dive into this martini book, and I said, Morgan, do you think the cosmopolitan is a martini? And he said, well, in my opinion, it's more like a margarita. It's actually a sour. All right. And we were talking about it. And, supposedly, as legend has it, there's one guy in Lower Manhattan that kind of invented that drink. And like fast forward, Sex and the City made it the most popular cocktail in the world. And I said, you know what, Morgan? I'm almost ready to start drinking cosmopolitans. Like it's been so removed from the zeitgeist and culture. But the more we were talking about the kind of, the breakdown of the drink, I was like, you know what? I do remember those going down really good. And I do remember them being quite simple in preparation. And maybe it's time to bring that damn drink back. And he was like, not so fast.
Hey, I'm agreeing with Morgan. Like, ease up on it, man. Let's go Boulevardier next.
Well, listen, I'll tell you right now, I could not walk into, I don't know, name some like Melfi's, a really cool restaurant that my buddy Brooks owns in Charleston, and I could not walk up in confidence with a bunch of dudes at the bar and be like, "Take a Cosmo, please."
Well, you could, but probably what you get back is going to be a Negroni or a Boulevardier. You're not getting a Cosmo.
Or a boot right in your ass.
Or you're not going to be drinking at that bar very long.
Yeah. Can you get that to go, sir?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So hold on. Let's go to B. Let's see. Let's hit B again. So it's I get light on the nose again. Yeah. I get a lot of vanilla. I get a little bit of honey sweetness, and then it's kind of on the palate. It's it's easy. This is
not like too hot.
This is like a whiskey and soda with maybe a splash of fruit or something. I mean, this is pretty easy going.
And which one is that? Can we say that? What B is that? B or C?
B.
B. Yeah, B. I think I've had them all. I think it's Penelope. Yeah, it's Penelope. So we know. So it's the Penelope, and it's 80 proof. But this is like a great introductory. So here's the thing: is like I wouldn't introduce somebody to the Resurgens if they're like, "Hey, I've never had a whiskey before. I'm ready to go." I wouldn't go down that road. Penelope is like, you could make like a good spritzer out of that thing, actually, ish.
I mean, I think if you were to make a Boulevardier, this would be really nice too. You're right, because it's got everything you want in a whiskey without kind of overpowering flavors and color profile. And I think the Campari and the vermouth would be really, really nice with that. Personally. Yeah, and then the citrusy orange notes with that.
Yeah. I think if you're showcasing, if you've got a really good vermouth that you want to showcase, I think this is fantastic for a Boulevardier for sure.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, if you're rocking, I don't know, if you're rocking some of that antique stuff you got, I don't know, it may just take it over. But
that's under lock and key. So
just saying.
So the food book first and then the cocktail book, Matt?
No, the cocktail books. So the Negroni book comes out in May.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Followed by a Martini book. And both of them are really small volume books with 15 to 18 recipes tops. Like, it's not like 50 recipes on Negroni. It has minimal history in it. Most of it kind of not concentrating on the myths of the origin stories of those two drinks, which is just makes your head spin. And I didn't want to get involved with a bunch of drink historians calling me out. So we just kind of briefly touch on the history of stuff. And then we kind of get into recipes that actually I just really like. And, listen, the pro bartenders, the world still needs. I just feel like those guys and those women have been the inspiration for all my best evenings and most fun times, right? But when you come home, particularly now during this situation, you want to try to emulate that as much as possible. And I think, the home chef, just like the home bartender, if you're not, it's not really your skill set. You keep it simple enough that you could probably get through it in a successful way and enjoy yourself. And that is that's the philosophy with these books. How do you make these kind of classic cocktails at home for yourself in the most foolproof design? And that was the intent with those two guys.
Nice. You doing photos with them too?
I did all the photos it was interesting because I have more photographs of Negronis in my phone than I do of my family, which I've realized I'm not that proud of, but it's true.
Do you say that out loud?
I said that out loud. I've said it. It's in the intro of the book. But during lockdown, we had all these plans to be in Europe for the summer, and I was going to go to my favorite bars in Europe. It really Italy is the there's no better Negroni than sitting in any place that's Italian. It's just the way it is, and that could be, the auto grill on the highway or some piazza in Rome. It's just the way it is. So I had plans to kind of trace my steps and re-photograph all these things, but we couldn't because we couldn't get there.
Right.
So I was digging through all my Instagram and I built this giant folder out and we realized, wow, there's all these images from all these great places in there. And then some I just had to kind of recreate either, at my kind of makeshift studio upstate or here. But you realize like the Negroni is just about kind of a beautiful daylight situation somewhere, imagine yourself on the seaside or some, like I said, piazza bar. But the martini really needs environment. And as I was kind of clocking where my favorite martinis are in New York, it's slowly, like the world slowly began to open up. So I was able to get to the Polo Bar and have a Gibson. I was able to go back to Dante and have like an upside down vermouth forward martini. And like that was really good because I couldn't fake it anymore. My kitchen was beginning to look the same no matter what table surface or glass I used.
Hey, Cal, quit drooling, Cal. Quit drooling.
I can't help it. These
sound amazing. These books sound amazing.
Yeah.
It should be good. And I'll tell you, one of the great things that happened to me in the writing of this martini book is I fell in love with olives. Like I've always not been a huge fan. I sort of have PTSD from olives from my brother as a kid. I don't know, like food fights or him putting him on the
easy. It's not that kind of show.
And I just was like, I found this one olive brand out of necessity at my local supermarket upstate. They're classic pimento stuffed olives. And they were just perfect. And I realized the key was they weren't a mushy mess. Like the texture was so
texture. All about texture.
Right? There was like a crunchy thing with a real pimento. And the brine was really good. And I was like, oh my God, like I really am in love with olives now. And that was kind of great because then, this idea of like really getting behind recipes like the dirty martini or the not so dirty or the filthy suddenly changed because the garnish was the thing that I realized I didn't like with all that stuff.
So did you have any, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was.
Well, you drugged me right into the pickled part, and you've been down south for most of for quite some time. Did you get introduced to any good pickles or any good pickled things?
My grandfather's Eastern European, so
okay, never mind.
Like if you stay in one place long enough, he will pickle you. It's just the way it is. Like they pickled everything. They pickled deer tongue, deer heart. And by the way, it was great. Like as a kid, you weren't told what it was. It just like found its way and it was excellent. Okay. And so I love pickling things. And what I love in the South, which I think is amazing, is the fried pickle chip.
Oh yeah.
Fried pickle with like ranch dressing on the side is probably one of life's. I would rather have a bad version of that than a bad French fry.
Oh wow.
So would I.
That's good.
So in homage to the South, and also a nod to my love of France, I did in the book a pickled martini.
Oh.
But using a cornichon. Right, because it's a nice garnish that size,
sure.
And using that brine with a Dolan French vermouth, and I'll tell you right now, it's terrific. And I was surprised I didn't see most of that, many of those in the South, because even my friend Sid Mashburn in Atlanta, we exchange pictures of our favorite pickled potato chips, and I found at the Pilot, or as we like to call the pilote.
I see. That's station. The French version.
Yeah.
French version.
They have pickle flavored chicharrones, pork rinds.
Oh yeah.
And guess what? That with a seltzer on the road that's my favorite road trip snack.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. But I love pickles. I like them in all shapes, forms, or whatever. So There's definitely a pickled martini in the book and a ramp martini. See, we have all these crazy wild onions or these kind of wild leeks called ramps, right? I think you have them.
No, we've got them down here. Yeah, so typically in the South, where we're making hay or something, if you get a mess of ramps in your round bale of hay and you feed it to your dairy cattle, well, then you get a tainted mess of milk and you have to dump the whole milk. So you have to be very careful.
Really?
Yeah, you have to be very careful that you don't have, we would call them wild onions. We wouldn't call them ramps. Yeah, but for dairy farmers that are making anybody that's feeding hay to dairy cattle, you have to make sure that there's no wild onion patches, or I guess I shouldn't say it in the hay, but if you turn your cows out and they were to go out and they eat the ramps,
right,
when they come back in, well, what goes in must come out.
That's right. The interesting thing is our ramps up here in the Northeast grow on southeast rocky slopes, like wet southeast rocky slopes. That's where you find them in absolute millions. Like on our farm upstate, I had been looking for months because I was like, I know there's ramps up there. I just moved up there. It wasn't until the year after that I realized they were right behind our driveway. Just like thousands and thousands and thousands.
Think of all those pounds you lost scouring those mountains.
Yeah, but there were no cows grazing on those rocky slopes. So that's pretty interesting. We don't have that problem up there. But when the bulb gets, when it just begins to kind of the tops go yellow and they're about to go into hibernation or until next season, if you could find them, the bulbs get quite big. And that's when I like to pickle those and use those in a ramp Gibson.
Oh, nice. So really do you do a lot of foraging like that? Do you go out and eat mushrooms and
I do, but at risk of not wanting to kill my family, there's only a couple mushrooms that I am absolutely 100% sure of, which is we have a few chanterelles there. We have a few kind of henna wood stuff there. Yeah. And then after that, it's pretty much like wild, those wild onions and some wild greens, like when the dandelions first come up in the field, like, all those tender first shoots we collect, and that stuff is great. So I like to do as much of that as possible, but I'm not going to risk killing anybody for a mushroom.
Right. Yep. For sure. For sure.
Hence the reason this won't kill you either.
No, are we on C?
How'd you feel about C? Yeah.
I like C too.
Yeah,
a little bit hotter than B.
Yeah, so for C, I get the most rounded, like these for A and B. They're two different spectrums, kind of the middle of the road on C, right? I get a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But yeah, extremely light. Yeah, it's still 83 proof. It's the 4+ years from Sagamore, so it's straight rye, and it's I think that goes well in any cocktail you want to put it in for sure.
I would say in general, I lean into the ryes when I am making mixed drinks more than anything.
Nice.
Like those are my kind of favorite go-tos.
Hold up. They got some spice to them, and they'll stand, especially if you're going vermouth or something, some kind of strong. If you're infusing any kind of syrups or something to go in them, right? I mean, they're going to stand up and have a good. They're just not going to your point, get just completely diluted, and I'm just drinking a sweet cocktail.
Yeah, it's really like growing up with all that Canadian rye. I think recently, a friend of mine said, "Oh, you should try this Crown Royale rye. It's winter harvested rye." And it was cheap. I found it at my local. And for a Manhattan, again, like to get back to the Manhattan world, I just thought it was excellent drink to mix with, because I think there's kind of sipping quality stuff and then mixing quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's going to get lost, I might as well just stick with, the stuff that mixes well more than just straight up sips well. And I really got brought back to my upstate New York, Christmas Eve dinners with Uncle Tony and Uncle Peter, with that. But it was I don't know. I thought it was great. You know, I don't get really snobby about all this stuff. You know, I think you got to pick a lane with what you're going to be a snob about. And I think I've done that with just a couple things. And I'm just going to, you know, the purity of the Negroni should not be effed with. But besides that, I feel like I think there's more variety. Like in brown spirit cocktail making, I give way more wiggle room than brown spirit sipping. You know, like with brown spirits, and I include rums in this, is like I really want the quality to be sipping quality, like nurturing sipping quality. That because that's the way I drink most brown spirits nowadays, particularly in the winter months. Is I'll just pour it in a glass, normally no ice, a lot of the time after dinner, and I just want it to hold up as most elegantly as possible on its own.
Nice.
You know.
So I got some more questions, but so ABC, how are you ranking them? What's your go-to, and what are you going for next?
I think I would drink a without a hesitation, just on its own.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't mix that with anything. Maybe some ice, right?
And again, the reason that you might not is this is not the typical Resurgens that you would get just walking off of it. This is a barrel pick, so it's one of a kind. It's unique, and it is at cask strength. So you know you're getting a lot of punch, a lot of.
I think it has terrific flavor. It also reminds me of like the flavors I want to taste after I eat something, you know, after a heavy meal, like you end with that kind of thing. You know, maybe that in a Klondike bar pretty good.
I mean, this is like dessert all day long.
Yeah. B would be maybe my Manhattan choice.
Right. B's really good. Yeah.
Or my Boulevardier choice.
Yep.
Right around there. And I think C could kind of play into that category as well, depending on where you were going.
Interesting.
You know, that's my take on it. I mean, I'm an absolute amateur with most of this stuff, but you know, I guess it comes down to tasting a whole bunch of stuff that you learn to like, and then you kind of go from there.
So are we. We just like to drink. I mean, the thing is, we had one that was a malted, 100% malted rye. We had one that was a 4-grain. And we had one that was, a straight rye. So, I mean, completely different. And doesn't mean one's better than the other. I mean, it's, I mean, you just brushed your teeth, for crying out loud.
Cal, I'd like to say that I've got two cocktail books coming out and a food book, but my palate is not right for this for sure.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's too good. Yeah, but I'm with you. I could so the Resurgens, the A mark, that like I could just I could actually make a meal out of this thing, almost.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just keep
so Matt, in the South. All right. So Diamond in the Rough. Give us a barbecue place that was like, oh my gosh, you got to go here.
So Lexington Barbecue in Lexington, North Carolina.
Okay, that's my backyard. No, I'm from Raleigh, so that's like 4 hours away. But yeah, Lexington, go. I'm hearing it. Let me hear it,
dude. That just changed my life.
Wow.
And okay, so there's different kind of barbecue. There's like hipster barbecue. There's new barbecue. Some, and people do that great. Like in Houston. A friend of Morgan's brought me to a place. I was just in Charleston, went to Lewis Barbecue. I mean, that brisket was the fattiest, moist, most perfect brisket I've ever had. And the pork rib was pretty damn good. But there's something about the aesthetics of a place when you go into, let's place like Lexington, and it looks like just the, regular, linoleum top diner. But that vinegar-based pork barbecue, and something I'd never seen before, which is they just call barbecue slaw, which is actually coleslaw just made with ketchup. By the way, genius, absolutely amazing. Like it was chopped like they do New York style coleslaw. It's all chopped up with carrot, but instead of using mayonnaise and sugar and vinegar, it's just like vinegar and ketchup. And I remember looking to the left, looking at it, I kept saying to Yolanda, like, what the hell is that guy eating? It looks like applesauce or what the hell? And the woman said, "Oh, that's barbecue slaw." And I was like, "Whatever the hell that is, and I'll take it." And it was just spectacular. I just thought it was really, really great.
Nice.
So that was my go-to. And I don't want to piss a lot of people off, but the worst meal we had on the road trip was Chick-fil-A.
Ooh, really?
Ooh.
And I'll tell you why. We were down in Asheville and went to Buxton Barbecue in Asheville. Big shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
And I had their interpretation of that kind of just classic Southern fried chicken sandwich, which, Chick-fil-A has made an absolute fortune on, and, bringing it to the masses.
Yeah.
But what I thought was interesting is like the chicken he was using at Buxton was so good. Like the flavor of the chicken was so good. It like tasted like something. And it was just the really thoughtful construction, like the bun and the cheese were pretty straightforward, but it just was like so good. The chicken and the fry was so good. And I just felt like many fast food places, it just felt like uncared for and just slung out, and the chicken was tasteless and the fry was good, but I kept going like Homer Simpson, like, hello, flavor, like where is, and in both Yolanda and I looked at, and it was sort of at the end of the trip, and we were like, everybody goes apeshit crazy for Chick-fil-A, but like this was so, and I think it was because we had such extraordinary stuff coming through that actually was really mom and pop, except this one chicken finger place that Clara wanted to go to Cane's. I
don't know Cane's.
You know Cane's?
Cane's.
No.
Cane's, all they do is make fried chicken tenders.
Oh, where?
And this was down in South Carolina.
Okay.
And Clara was going ape shit crazy for it. She was like, we got to go to Cane's. We got to go to Cane's. We pull up and I'm like, wait, we're waiting in line for chicken fingers? She was like, Dad, just wait. Canes. They were fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, they were absolutely fantastic.
I have not heard this.
So anyway.
So they were good. The chicken fingers were good.
Oh my God. It was great. It was great. And so anyway, that was sort of like my tour of now listen, if there is one franchise out there, Chick-fil-A, that thinks that they can impress me the most, I'm open to that. I'm not saying it's etched in stone, but the one I went to didn't seem as thoughtful and as good as the people that were kind of reinterpreting in their own kind of mom and pop.
Yeah, sure.
Way.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Let me ask you this, because here in the South, of course, Chick-fil-A is from Atlanta. We kind of established that as like the, it's kind of like the go-to place. But in your opinion, you're well-traveled in the U.S. What's your go-to burger place from like fast food? Is it In-N-Out? Is it Whataburger?
If somebody said to me, you have one last group of meals.
Okay.
In-N-Out Burger would be at the top of that list.
There you go. I agree.
And I will say this, when I land in LA, my first meal is In-N-Out right by the airport.
Yep, been there.
And my last meal, if I can do it, is In-N-Out by the airport.
Been there, done that.
And I'll tell you what I love about the In-N-Out Burger. I like the size. I like the density of the patty. It's a fast food burger. It's not a bar burger. Like bar burgers, like J.G. Mellon are phenomenal, but they're a little thicker. You can adjust the temperature, whatever. The flavor of the beef is so good. And then I read there's a book on the kind of history of In-N-Out. And then you realize like they have such control over the supply chain, from the cattle that they choose to the butcher to the processing to everything.
Wow.
It's just incredible. And I like that style of burger. That's thin patty with yellow cheese with, onion or animal style, depending on how you fresh onion, and I mean, if I really want to make Yolanda jealous on a trip, I will send a picture of an In-N-Out. That's for real.
Makes it rough for you when you get home, doesn't it?
Nice.
No, it's just like In-N-Out. You, God damn it.
All right, I got two questions. I'm gonna turn it back to Cal. So did you try fried okra on the trip? And have you gotten in an argument with Stanley Tucci about cocktails in the past?
Okay, I have had fried okra in the past, and actually just in Georgia, one of my favorite like my cocktail snack foods is freeze-dried okra.
Okay.
It was so good and crunchy and beany, and like you felt less guilty stuffing your face with it, whatever. I thought that was amazing. I am a huge Stanley Tucci fan in terms of his acting. And when I used to go to the Sunset Tower, I would see him at the gym. And he's an incredibly fit guy, and I would not want to get in any kind of altercation with him. But I would kindly suggest, if I ever saw Mr. Tucci, that he give better advice on his cocktail making.
Nice.
Oh, shit.
Was that diplomatic enough?
Yep,
Yeah,
very much so.
it doesn't. I don't know why the hell you're being diplomatic.
Well, I don't want Stanley
you-
Tucci kicking my ass. I've watched him put up like barbells and stuff at the, and that's an intimate gym, but I don't want anything to do with those biceps.
All right, so I'm still. So at this point, if you have anything left, just pour them and drink them. And but I'm still in good shape that I can continue a conversation. And I think we've settled on what we like the best and the least and the most. Well, we liked everything. There's just
They were all great.
There are different times and reasons and different things you could do with everything that we poured.
Cal, I think you put together a great lineup here. I think it was really good.
I think it's great. And I'll be honest with you. I think it's really, honestly, hard to choose what is a favorite. I mean, I do like them all for different reasons. I don't think there's a dog in the bunch here. Personally, I'd be really happy with any of these at my bar.
Mm-hmm.
Or so I think it's a really nice. It's actually more difficult when they're so closely as good as each other. You know what I mean?
They're equally good, but also vastly different.
Yeah, of course.
If that's fair, I don't know. I mean, it would be like me looking through your martini list and say, or your martini book, and saying, well, shit, I like that one, and I like that one, and I like that one. I mean, really, to me, these are about like when would I drink these, and how would I drink them?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about what happens with the martini is you're using a base clear spirit. In this case, the original martini will always be gin, right?
Yep.
No, it will always be gin.
But I think that combination of vermouth and garnish and technique starts really changing what that thing is. And that's where all the kind of alchemy comes into play. Sweet Dolan mixed with dry Dolan with a bit of sea salt in the shaker. Like, dude, it's just crazy how that changes so dramatically with that. And I do think that's the beauty of gin. And even bad gin can be disguised to be a good drink. But I think with these spirits, you can't disguise them in their original state. Like, it's as good as it's going to be as that. And you can't fake it, Yeah,
we may have to let you go soon. Sorry, we don't need to keep you longer than we.
Yeah, I got about, I'm looking at the clock. I got about 5 minutes before I'm tapped to start dinner.
Okay.
Yeah. I would be a BCA guy on this, so I would be a Penelope Sagamore and then an ASW guy on these. Is the way I would say. Like if I were doing a proper pour.
I think I would go straight up ABC.
Oh, you would do it just like we did it.
I would do it just like we did it.
Cool.
So you were happy with and my partner, she she ran it. I pour them and then she mixes them up, so I have no idea which is which. But you like the fact of getting the stronger, more potent, the higher proof on the first one, and then working through the rest of them.
Yeah, but like I said, I would go. At the end of the night, I would go with A.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right, because if my palate is clobbered or whatever, like that would be, I end my evening more often than not with a brown spirit than start it.
But you'd end with A.
I would end with A.
Yeah, me too.
I would end with A, and then maybe if I was to make cocktails, Manhattan and or Boulevardier, I would go BC.
Yeah, good to go. Yeah,
before BC, by the way, stands for before Campari.
Nice. I love that.
Understood.
Well, guys, it's as usual. It's always fun to talk to you, and I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you coming on, man. so much.
And maybe one of these days we could all sit within 2.5 feet of each other.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Just don't lick each other and we'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
Matt, thanks for coming on, bud. We appreciate it.
Thanks, bud. Cheers.
My pleasure, guys. Cheers,
Right.
cheers,
Cheers.
cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. All
Yeah.
right.